This is Mike with Wichita Falls Reptile Rescue. We're going to talk about aquatic turtles here for a little bit. This is one of my outdoor accommodations here at Turtle Trough. This is a waterland tub that's used, as you can see here. Let me pan this up. It's a rather large trough meant for keeping turtles. And up this way is a slope where normally these turtles would have the small end down there filled with some substrate, some dirt, kind of up flush with the ramp there where they can get up there and bask. But right now that far side is being used as a neonatal intensive care unit for some very small red-eared slider hatchlings that were rescued that need some more intensive care, and so they're down there right now because they have to be separated from these other turtles. They're down there enjoying some supplemental UV light a little later into the evening. It's got a solar raptor mercury vapor going down there. This is where I keep the larger turtles, the rehabs, and some of the permanent residents, my painted turtles, and a few red-eared sliders that are in rehab. And I'm about to put this male red-eared slider out here, who was a rehabilitation case. He's good enough to go in the back in the water now. He's about ready to go, but I'm going to put him in the outdoor trough here so he can get a little bit of exercise and a little more food in him before he goes, because he's been dry docked for a while. But he suffered a carapace fracture right here at the margin that kind of radiated up here in this direction and abraded his scute there. And this is finally healed. He had some scar tissue built up, and so that has made him pretty good and watertight again, and no signs of infection. So he's good enough to actually go back in the water full time now, and he'll be released pretty quickly. But one of the things I wanted to show you, talk about, I've been needing to do this for a while, is in regard to the scutes on the shell. And the scutes are the keratin. The keratin overlays the turtle shell. The turtle shell is actually bone. It's a modified rib cage, as a matter of fact, and you can't just have exposed bone, otherwise it would get infected and you would get sepsis. So the turtle shell is overlaid and protected by keratin, just like your fingernails or what your hair is made out of. And as you probably know, occasionally this it sheds off. And I get a lot of questions about this. What is a healthy shed in a turtle? You know, what's it supposed to look like when the scutes shed? And I'm going to show you here because that one's ready to come off. And I'm going to go ahead and let him go in the water here. But the scute should look like this. I don't know how well you can see that there. Okay. It should be fairly translucent and very thin, kind of like a thin sheet of plastic, thick piece of paper. But anyways, as you can see, translucent. You can get a pretty good idea of how thin and flexible that is. That would be a normal shed. If you've got a very thick sloughed off scute, it's really thick and not translucent. If it is pretty opaque, or in other words hard to see through, then that is not a healthy shed, and you've probably got some shell issues going on there. And when that happens, the The keratin can build up in layers from improper shedding. It can cause underlying ulcerative shell diseases, and in other words, shell rot. But in technical terms, it would be called like a necrotizing or an ulcerative carapace infection. And if that goes on too long, it will actually it can turn into like a keratolytic condition or osteolytic, where, in other words, the infection that takes hold, it could degrade and break down the keratin and result in an infection that actually starts to degrade the bone. And you will notice that in a lot of cases where you have pitting of the actual bone of the shell, and that's in a lot of cases where there's an ongoing infection, that is where the bone is getting ulcerated because of the infection. And the next thing I just wanted to touch on real quick was some of the food items that I give my turtles here. And these guys do get some pellets for as part of their diet for the protein, but it's not a major part of the diet. As a matter of fact, I don't like to use. I like to cut back on the processed pellet type of food as much as possible. The nitrates and everything in it, a lot of that stuff it's a lot of nitrogen, and that can be hard on their kidneys, and you've got all the other crap that goes in the processed stuff, preservatives and everything. It's just not an ideal diet, so I just use it as supplemental for their protein. But even though these are most of these guys in here are painted turtles, which tend to be pretty carnivorous, they're eating a lot of plant matter as well. I throw cuttle bones in there, and they do tear those up. They do munch on those, and they've done whittled away. There was small remnants last time I cleaned this out of cuttle bone in there, but they'd pretty much eaten the whole cuttle bone. That's you normally give those to birds, parakeets and whatnot, but the turtles do enjoy them. At least not everybody's will, but at least mine will. That's a supplemental source of calcium. But in addition to the pellets, I'll give them. I'll go down to the duck pond at the park and stock up on duckweed that I'll throw in here from time to time. They love that. And the duckweed is like they look like miniature lily pads, little green miniature lily pads. They like those. They eat those. I also give them, like here, give them apple. They love apple, and that's something that's easy. It floats on the surface, so it's easy for them to eat. And in addition, I like to give them greens. They get and not just lettuce and crap like that. Far too many people are giving their reptiles lettuce. Lettuce is very little nutritional value. It's crap. I give my turtles here and most of my other herps get collard greens or mustard greens or turnip greens, dandelion greens, and these here are carrot top greens. There's organic carrot top greens from the garden of a friend of mine. These are homegrown carrot top greens, and they like those as well as some apple for treat. And everybody's kind of pretty much going after the apple right now. That's one of their favorites. But whenever that's done, they'll come back around and clean up the on the dandelion, or the there we go. There's one of my painted turtles down there. I don't know if you can see him. He's eating the carrot top greens. There we go. That one's liking the carrot top greens. So just try to give them a variety, like you would want to be fed some variety. Pellets all the time just is not good for them. Any reptile to have such a a diet that consistent. They're going to be lacking in something.